So I'm going to call this meeting to order. First agenda item, roll call, if you could, please. Cynthia.
Yep, Cynthia Batty.
David Majewski.
Bree Rivera. Kristen Zumar. Margot Rain.
Tamara Stone.
I think we have a quorum. Didn't know we were missing two people, but that's okay. Well, actually, I knew we were gonna miss one. Actually, where's Vera? We don't have Vera either.
Whose card's not even out.
Yeah.
Um,
Approval of the minutes. There were minutes for the March meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Any corrections? Okay, hearing no corrections or comments, do I have a motion to approve the minute?
I'll move.
I'll second quickly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, one abstention,
Two
two
abstentions.
abstentions, and do I have any no votes? Oh, okay. Public comments. Guess we don't have any public comment.
There's no public here.
There's nobody here. Okay. How about if we do the subdivision plan and we'll discuss the bylaw and the rules? Because we've got guests.
Let the applicant introduce themselves and present the plan briefly, and then we can go over the review.
Okay, Bill Wemley from Field Landing Engineering. Or you guys are starting a little bit too well. This is a subdivision plan. The purpose of the subdivision is basically to take the wetlands off the main portion of the plan. So the back piece is being proposed to be subdivided. And then because of the way we're developing this and raising the site map, it becomes an issue with the pump station. So we are carving out a piece of the corner and access through there, so that it all becomes one. We were potentially making it one piece, but right now the owners are keeping this piece and maintaining it the same way they are in this. So there's I guess the last council meeting, there was an agreement that an access was going to be put through that so that they could get access back into the pump
The
station.
easement, right?
Yes, it's actually, right through here. And we provided a blanket easement on the plan to basically allow access back into this. That's really the gist of the plan. I mean, if you want me to get through the numbers, I can.
Do you want to just go through?
Sure.
It's what we all agreed though, isn't it? What we're
Yes.
proposing? Yeah.
Just to give you, I probably should provide a little bit more background, but we had seen this so many times.
Yeah,
We
please
had,
don't.
we had known of the intent of the applicants to subdivide the property from the very beginning of when they submitted the concept plan to you for your recommendation to the Board of Adjustment for a special exception. So the subdivision of the land was always in the background of the site plan, but this is their first official submittal of the subdivision plan. And further background, as conditions of your site plan approval, there were several items that needed to be addressed at the city council level before they came before you with the subdivision that they had. And as was stated, the one item was, well, it wasn't discussed, but if you remember, there was a cross-access utility easement on the parent parcel that was a vestige of the original subdivision that that could only be eliminated by the city council, which was done at the April meeting. City council also approved the easement across the city parcel to the pump station parcel that's being created. And the city council.
Is that the same?
Yes. Yes. This is the same plan that was should be in the packet. And
We didn't get it.
Yeah, we didn't.
Just so you know.
It was emailed out. I didn't see that.
Oh, I missed it. Okay,
And another city council item was concern regarding the disposition of proposed lot 1B. And the city council, the idea being that it has really no physical road frontage, and there was concern about access to it for maintenance. Even though it's a wetland parcel, it may, mostly wetlands, it may need some maintenance in the future. So the city council agreed to recognize that issue being addressed by the imposition of a
Access.
a blanket access easement across, yes, across lot 1A. And not only is there a legal instrument that will be recorded, but there's physical access being built as part of the site plan that will allow vehicles to gain access to the wetland parcel, because there is a depression in the curbing in the parking lot and a gravel pathway that allows access to the wetland parcel that Jeff Bergstrom, in his capacity as the fire marshal, required for access to the rear of the buildings for emergency apparatus.
That's true. Exactly.
okay,
So those were the city council items that were approved at the April meeting.
so we're just basically approving what the city approved or acknowledging
No,
what the city approved?
The planning commission has to approve subdivision plans.
Oh.
Even though there's really no inherent development associated with the subdivision plan in and of itself. This is sort of a sister plan to the site plan, which, because of the timing of council meetings and
Okay,
Does that
schedule.
still have to go back to council again, or is this the end of the road for this set of decisions?
That's a good question. Both the subdivision and the site plan.
Because we can't approve, all we can do is recommend approve, as far as I know.
It's approving, but the city council has the final say in their role in having to approve these as via resolution.
Okay.
I'd like to use the term that you guys are still approving the plans and then forwarding them to the city council.
So there's still one more step
Yeah.
before this is all wrapped
Yeah.
up. Okay, as for me, I'm trying to understand that.
And we have the other comments from the site plan approval,
Uh-huh.
the other approvals from the various agencies
Okay.
for that.
okay, so the subdivision we're approving is separating off the pumping station and the wetlands and creating the easements? That's what we're approving?
The subdivision plan is creating 3 lots,
Where it's one right now?
where it's 1 right now. Lot 1A is the lot on which the apartments will be constructed.
1B is.
Lot 1B is the wetland parcel. Lot 1C is the parcel being created around the county sewage pump station.
Can you point that on the map again? I'm sorry.
This is B,
Okay.
this is B, and this is A.
And that's all, the division lines are consistent with the site plan. It's all, again, it's always been in the sort of the background of the site plan. So you approved the site plan in March with conditions. They still need to go back to the city council to have the site plan approved by resolution. And they also need to go to the city council to have the subdivision plan approved by resolution.
Okay.
So-
And there's also, I'm trying to write this down, so did you write a motion up already? Because I'm trying to,
I was just going to suggest condition upon meeting the outstanding items in this letter.
so we don't have to lay out that it's gonna be 3 parcels and that there's a right of way or all that stuff?
Correct, because that's already more or less, that's been taken care of.
Okay, all right.
There
thank
are,
you.
I have some comments about the nature of the easements, but it's all normal procedures.
Thank you.
So, letter dated April 18th, to Antina Tantillo, the new city manager, city administrator. Given the number of lots being proposed in the previous consideration of the subdivision as part of the site plan, the plan could be simply labeled subdivision plan and undergo one review by the planning commission. If approved by the planning commission, the subdivision plan would be forwarded to city council for approval by resolution. The purpose of the plan note should be revised to reflect the subdivision and not the apartments. Again, there's no development inherent in this, like in the subdivision plan. The subdivision plan depicts and/or references several items specific to the site plan. It should be confirmed that both plans will be recorded concurrently. That they don't make sense without that, being recorded separately. As approved at the city council at their April 9th meeting, the two easements are indicated on the plan, and we've discussed them. The first easement is general access to lot 1A and proposed to lot 1B for ingress, egress, and emergency access and maintenance. The second easement provides similar access across the city-owned parcel. I'm just deferring to the city attorney on the adequacy of the language on the subdivision plan and the need for additional instruments to affect said easements. I know these guys don't think that way, but it's a common misconception that showing an easement on a subdivision plan is the granting of the easement, but there's additional legal instruments that need to be recorded that indicate who the grantor is, who the grantee is, and the rights and responsibilities. Yes.
I believe they were created and they were presented at the board meeting.
Oh, okay.
The
you're right.
city council meeting?
They were referring to them. I didn't.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
There were exhibits that were included that describe that easement as well as providing a picture exhibit of exactly where it's at. Definition. But do you have a resolution?
Yeah.
Has it been? Okay, you can have that.
Item number 6, at that same meeting, the city council extinguished the existing cross access and utility easement. And we will defer to the city attorney on the need to note said extinguishment on the subdivision plan and or the need for additional instruments to affect that. Is that presented?
Yes.
Okay. Before this gets signed, we'll confirm that everything is buttoned up. Signature blocks should be added for the planning commission chair and the city building official. And minor item, the date of the Board of Adjustment decision granting the noted variances should be added to the plan. You remember this was approved by the Board of Adjustment some time ago as a special exception, and there were several variances granted. And most of those are site plan oriented, but in the interest of record keeping, future readers of the subdivision plan should know that there were variances granted associated with this land and the date of the Board of Adjustment's decision. So 10 years from now, somebody can find it easy.
Makes sense.
So those are the comments.
Anybody have any questions?
Just one question. Where will the access road be that is referenced? Is that north side or south side?
Which
I guess,
to the,
so it talks about access road for emergency access, but also to the wetlands. I don't know, is it two separate or
Well,
one?
there's an
Why don't you
emergency,
take that over there so you can
Yeah.
get really?
Yeah, I can say, yeah.
there's an emergency ingress and egress through here.
Okay,
And then just basically, it's just a blanket easement that allows anybody to come from this point to that point to maintain it. That's it.
Okay,
So it doesn't matter where they drive in the.
okay.
Yeah.
And is that gonna be built to a weight capacity or is that just gravel on top of dirt?
It's for
This
fire
is the
truck.
only, this is the only spot we're talking about the gravel and dirt. This is a hard not macadam, but this is gonna be a paver. block
Okay.
Paver, and this is all macadam here.
Okay.
It's just from this point back, it's going to be something that's capable of taking a fire truck.
Okay, so my only concern is I don't wanna put an 80,000 pound tower ladder on it and watch it sink. Yeah,
We would usually-
my insurance company won't be real big
we
fan
would
of
usually
you.
use something like 12 inches.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We need a motion? First, can we,
Yeah, if you're so inclined, to keep it straightforward, if you're so inclined to approve it, I would approve it, conditioned on the items being, the items in AECom's April 18th, 2024 letter being addressed, prior to the planning commission chair signing the subdivision plan.
I'll move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Are we gonna see you anymore?
I don't know, but
We're gonna miss you if we don't see you.
Wish you all too.
The Christmas card one. Well, thank you for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope to get the air work.
Thanks again.
Mhm.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So the last thing is gonna be pretty short. I have become aware, I guess I've been aware as well, that we don't really have rules, and I found out that other cities have policies and procedures for how their planning commission works. And just seeing the struggles that Chris has, that people will submit something and he doesn't really have enough time to get it turned around in order for us to have adequate time to look at it. It just made sense to look into creating some policies and procedures. So I got a real basic one, sent that to Max. He's going to look at it just to make sure it conforms with all the legal stuff before we monkey around with it too much. And then I will be sending it out to everybody for some thoughts and feedback as to what else you feel would be helpful to allow us to operate a lot more smoothly. So I'm hoping that no later than early next week, I can get that out. Though every time I've hoped for that, it hasn't happened. But hopefully at least 2 weeks before our next meeting, whenever that is gonna be. You'll have time to look at it, think about it, and then we'll talk about it some at the hopefully May meeting. I still don't have an answer as to whether city council needs to approve those, or that's purely internal. I'm waiting for another. But I will be soliciting input from city council as to their thoughts on it. So if you have any ideas, shoot me an email, get in touch with me. Prior, I can start creating some lists of things we want to incorporate.
Mike gave feedback already, and I did suggest that a lot of things we need for this group, we need for Historic Area Commission and probably Board of Adjustment also. So to the extent that we can leverage some of this for some of the other groups, I'm recommending that we do that. Thank you so much for doing this. We desperately need this.
Oh, I wasn't aware there were any rules.
You learn something new every day.
Is there a way that we, and it's probably a discussion offline, but when I began to realize how many times they came to us, they came to city council, they've come back to us, is there a way to try to streamline that at all? And you don't have to answer me now. You can ponder that.
I think, one of the ways we're doing that is with these conditional approvals where if it's done, you can sign it, it doesn't have to come back to us again. That to me seemed like it kind of knocked things from coming back the next meeting to us.
Yeah, I think the issue is sometimes how it comes to us, right, Chris? Because they came to us with one parcel initially. And through discussions, it was decided that they needed to subdivide that out. So that's, I think where it's, because if they'd originally come to us with a separate plan with subdivisions, we probably would have discussed that first. But I think it kind of came up separately, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna remember the string of events, but they weren't ready with the subdivision plan when you approved the site plan.
Okay.
And I had always envisioned 2 years ago when they started this process that we all knew that the subdivision plan was in the background. I was anticipating that they would submit the subdivision plan at the same time as the site plan, the final approval. But because of these council items that needed to be addressed, they wanted to move forward with the site plan first. Then they had to go to the city council to have the easement extinguished, get their acceptance of the way they're dealing with the wetland parcel. But to the question of, is there a way to streamline? They're the ones that chose to develop land that needed a Board of Adjustment approval and needed 5 variances.
Okay.
That needed to go to plus.
So essentially, some of it's self-inflicted.
Well, I mean, it's not inflicted, it's just part of
The way it
part of
is.
the process. I mean,
The project entail.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think there's no. You know, your process is pretty lean anyway, so
Okay.
it seems like they're coming here a lot. But one time they weren't ready, and that was their choice to come here and try to get approval. We told them they don't have enough approvals from the other agencies, so.
So there's no guidelines for them to be ready, in advance of coming to us, like with enough information?
Is that something that would be addressed in our?
We can do that. We can, I think I think I saw somewhere. I'm not sure where, I don't know if you saw a checklist and maybe it was on another website. Oh, we do
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, we amended the ordinance, probably a couple of years ago now to really, revise the site plan section of the zoning ordinance
Oh, good.
that provided the checklist, required the plans go to city council afterwards because somebody at city council wanted that, required site plans to get recorded. So, this last flurry of plans that we received has really tested the revisions that we made to the ordinance a couple of years ago. So to the question of, you know, somewhere in that the new language of your zoning ordinance that talks about site plan, it says, and the planning commission shall make sure that the applicant has all other approvals before they grant site plan approval.
So then we would be holding them accountable for meeting the checklist requirements or?
Yes,
Yeah, they probably came here thinking they had enough to check off, but we're the, the background checkers and say, no, you forgot these things and. Come
So
back
then
to
they
us.
still come here unprepared and we still.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm looking backwards, even pre that, like, is there a way to?
Is there a way to get, if we
Give them
have,
the checklist, I guess.
well, I guess the thing is, if we have a time frame that says, look, if you want to be heard at this meeting, your information has to be in by this time.
Right.
Whether 2 weeks in advance or whatever, let's just say it goes to Chris 2 weeks ago. And then and Chris says, well, this, and this are done. Can't we decline to hear it? If the items aren't done?
yes.
I would think so.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
So we're saying we want to have somebody review it and say, look, you're still missing a lot of stuff on the checklist and these approvals, we don't want you to come back until then? or is that wrong? Zero?
Well, you,
It's wasting our
every-
time, if
well-
we already know they haven't got half of the stuff.
Depends. I think it depends. These are really complicated situations. And, you know, you may have noticed in the last meeting, I was really adamant, what's happening at what time? How are we gonna make these things happen in time for this to get checked off at city council? Got to miss that. And it was frustrating to me that we had to walk through that process to make sure that it got done in time for city council, that there was, everybody understood what our job was, what your job was, what your job was, all the filings, and then it would be ready in time for them. To your point, if we didn't walk through and know what all those things were, and they know what all those things were, it would drift another month.
And but that's again to my point, because it's so complicated, and we only meet once a month to have to constantly revisit the information over and over again.
It's not always clear,
It's
that's the
not always
problem.
helpful.
But it's not always clear exactly.
But on the
what it
things
is.
that are clear that they are lacking, we should be able to bounce
Agreed.
it back and say no, because
Agreed.
I feel like we wasted a lot of time seeing the same presentation about the same aesthetics and what they plan to do. It with multiple projects, not this project in particular, but it just seems like I saw the same project with no new information, and I'm not sure why we sat through it so many times.
you mean tonight?
No, not that one. Talking about the flats, how many times we see the same?
It's because they're
That was a mess.
the ones that wanted a comprehensive plan. Well,
But I mean, we saw the same presentation over and over and over again. I
Yep.
guess and again, they came in, and now it had been a while since we had seen them last time. And they came in with the aesthetics and the tree thing and pretty much agreed to it, but I didn't think I needed to see that much visual of the trees and this, that, and the other again.
Well, we asked them for it
Talk
though,
about that.
and they were demonstrating
Well-
that they'd done what we asked.
well,
They don't have to present it like they do that. You know what I mean? It seems like I've seen a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm just like, we saw this, the flats, we saw that. I don't know how
Right,
many
but
other
they-
times.
so I'm gonna use that as an example. We're not talking about it in any material.
No.
So as an example, you know, they had to come back to you because they needed a special exception. Now, the last time. So prior to them getting the rezoning, all of the meetings and the presentations that they went through was a function of staff making them demonstrate that the comprehensive plan amendment was a worthy amendment. So that was probably mostly me making them come back over and over again and saying that they needed additional information, say, stop it, let's not review the site plan yet. Let's talk about the comprehensive plan. Well, what is the comprehensive plan? We were all new at the time, so we did a workshop. Then we decided we wanted more universal information about the impacts of the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning, so they had to do a fiscal impact analysis. That had to come back to you.
It
So-
seemed like they kept presenting that plus what they did before, plus what they did before, just kind of like adding on and presenting the same stuff plus what we asked for instead of just saying,
We could have
This is what
stopped
you-
them. We could have said, we've seen this, let's move on, you know.
you know what I'm talking about.
I do know, and that was,
Instead
that
of
was
just
weird.
addressing
Yeah.
what we questioned them about, they went back to the beginning and started the whole presentation all over again.
But that
and
was
then-
their lawyer. We could have stopped them.
Yeah, you know.
That's all I'm getting at.
You're gonna have
like,
to be, we'll have to be careful on those legal grounds, because they need to set, they're trying to establish a record at every meeting. So if they want to go on and on and on about, you know, as the chair, you know, maybe you could set some time limits on it, but then we're getting into,
Okay.
you know, cutting off.
Right, and if
applicants.
they have those liberties to go on and on and on, it'd be great if we had all the information up front through that checklist, if that's vetted before it comes to us. So that we're not wasting precious time, and then we can then make decisions off of that. And then if we need information, then maybe that's 2 meetings, not 4 or 5. Or, you know, maybe it could cut down on some of that.
The flats is very.
That was really different. These
Yeah.
guys weren't so bad, I didn't think.
They did, they
No, I
don't,
don't
they don't.
Any of us are complaining.
Nobody wants to come here.
And I think the last time when they came, they did present what they changed, and they had the things, and we said, okay, we didn't see that again, we just wanna know that it was done, and then they shortened it.
So they came back and tried to get site plan approval months ago, and they weren't ready, and they decided to come here anyway. And I.
But
And,
it's their decision to make, to come here anyway.
Yeah, we
It's
declined
not-
that.
Right.
I mean, it would have to be staff level. It would have to
That'd be you?
Would have to be written in the code.
Oh,
And a lot of codes say, so I've been, I don't wanna get into that, I don't wanna be that person that says I've been doing this a long time, but I'm turning into that person.
been doing,
A checklist is just a vehicle for information. It's, so there are a lot of codes that say, here's the checklist. If you don't have the items on this checklist, the plan will be returned to the applicant. And the checklist is just north arrow, zoning, yeah, the zoning's on there. The setbacks, they're on there, check. It doesn't mean that the plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan in your zoning ordinance. It's just a tool for a planner one to say, yep, yeah, it's got the zoning's right, the setbacks are right, the number of parking spaces are right.
okay.
But it doesn't say, oh man,
How does it
there's an
fit in
easement on
with it?
here.
Yeah.
The fire company needs access to the wetlands. They're concerned that city council is concerned about that orphan parcel not being maintained properly, and what happens if the frag kit is on fire? That's not a checklist item. That is,
The process.
yeah, we need an easement.
need a
That-
break,
That
yeah.
needs to go to city council before it comes back, so. We. At the staff level, we want to make sure that things are as buttoned up as possible when they get here, so you don't waste your time worrying that if the plan has information on it or not. So for a plan to get rejected and not get here, that's done sort of at the staff level by the very nature.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
if
that
they're here,
makes
they're
sense.
here. You would almost have to let them, and we did, whenever they were tabled, they were tabled for months. They came in with a site plan, but they didn't have they had just submitted the Delta, they had just submitted the DENREC, they were in the first stretch of their agency approvals when they first submitted the real site plan to you. And I told them ahead of time, we're gonna recommend that the thing be tabled. But let's bring it here and let's let the planning commission know where they are, where you are with all of these other agencies. If you have, a 10-item agenda, we probably wouldn't have done that. I say, I don't want to waste their time because they have 9 other things they gotta do. So we've had a flurry of plans here that we haven't seen since I've been around here in this last couple of years. And we're trying to. Yeah, and the first thing I would appreciate it is a deadline for submitting plans. We could do that internally, but if it comes straight from the planning committee, that's even better, And I'm trying to balance, accommodating
Everybody,
a
yeah.
economic development. This subdivision plan was a no-brainer to me. I got it Tuesday. It should have been submitted way before that, but
But again, because there's no rules, because you've been accommodating, because I know there was one, was it last month? They had submitted everything, you gave them a letter saying, all these things are missing, and then 2 days later, they sent it back to you with all the corrections.
yeah, I don't review corrections
And it's like,
before a meeting. Unless it's reasonable.
people, the meeting's in 2 days, really?
A lot of
So
engineers
I
will do
think it
that.
would be better for everybody if we create some deadlines and stuff.
Well, HAC has a deadline. It's 10 days before the meeting. That's published deadline. It's a little hard to find anywhere, but it exists. So.
Well, yeah,
That things have to be into them.
Yeah, your proposal, what you want to do for historic area commission has to be in 10 days before the meeting.
well, I
It's
think
not,
that's,
is there, excuse me,
no, it's
Sorry.
okay.
does that involve like professional staff review too, or is that just go right to the hack for?
No,
sort of
well,
Hacks review.
this is why these problems are similar in all these different commissions. People put things before hack, but they're missing pieces. They need to have a elevation drawing, or they need to have a photograph of what they're gonna change, or they need to have all these other things. And not every human being can face that form and understand it, particularly if they're individual homeowners or whatever. So what we're working on now is either the admin will look at it and tell them what they're missing, which she's more than capable of doing, or the code enforcement
Right.
role will do it. But if, and I think we allow them to correct, if they get it in 10 days ahead of time and there's some problems with it, then they get a grace period to correct. But I don't think that has a date on it. And again, certainly for hack, these are humans trying to do work on their
There's a
house.
homeowner,
We
not
need to
professional.
be accommodating
Yeah.
a little bit. And I would say, to some extent, the same here. If there's one little piece missing, we're gonna make them wait another month. Why?
But these aren't homeowners
No, I
submitting,
understand that.
These
I
are
mean-
lawyers and developers that know
engineers
their.
that should know what they're
Well,
doing.
actually, we kind of had a homeowner here in the last meeting who was gonna subdivide their big block plot into 7 things. So I'm just a little concerned
Yeah, but
about
in order to-
over legislating here.
No, I get that, and I agree. I don't want them coming back so many times, but I also don't, I'm also a little anxious about approving something without all the pieces.
That I agree, that I
that-
agree completely.
then-
Yes.
You can come if you don't have all the pieces, but we're not gonna approve it, so why are you wasting time?
That's a little bit different. If they're really not ready, then they shouldn't be presenting. But I think we need to have a little bit of flexibility if there's a little piece missing or something has to be done. We need to be a little bit
Well,
forgiving.
I think, these larger things, Chris definitely should get more time to look at.
Yeah.
Because we should have, like I said, at least a week to
Yeah.
review these before the meeting.
Yes,
Personally,
yes, I agree with that.
as a commission, because the weekend, if you have plans, if you're going to a wedding or you're in a wedding, your weekend shot, I'm sorry, you're not looking at this.
No,
You're skimming
right.
it right before the
You're
meeting,
right.
that's not
You're right.
fair to the applicant and it's not fair to the other commissioners.
Mhm.
So I think that, as far as smaller things where it's a homeowner coming to subdivide a plot or whatever. I think those things require less scrutiny. And if there was something missing, and Chris just passed it on, he said, this is missing, but I think we would be more understanding, but if it's a big project that's coming through, where they're not ready to present really, we're definitely not gonna approve anything based on what they present, and I think it needs to be kicked back. If it is in a good position though, I think that Chris should have enough time to look at it and say this is in good position and pass it on to us where we had at least a week to look at it. And Chris, what is your time frame that you think you need, especially on the larger projects, to be able to look at this before we would have them a week beforehand?
Yeah, just a month before your meeting.
A month before our meeting?
Because I never, I don't know what's my schedule. 2 weeks, I couldn't have reviewed, I'm not gonna review that original pool site plan. In 2 weeks, if I happen to have another deadline or something, so, and they're all used to it. The whole
I was gonna
consulting.
say, I would have imagined everybody has a similar requirement.
And I was just thinking, remember the Crozier Fine Arts Facility?
Yeah,
I kicked that back
I remember, we got it in January and they
Yeah.
kicked it back because it wasn't ready.
because it had all the wrong notes on it. It was referencing county this and county that. They just slapped it together. I said, I'm not gonna waste the planning commission's time with this, so I sent it back internally and the engineer was like, okay, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, we've been getting better. it's really what's coming to us and what order it's coming in. And we don't really have control over that. So, I mean, to the best of our ability, we can try to set some timeframes, which will probably help that better. I think Chris is trying to do as much as he can. He's doing an adequate job of trying to kick back what he can, kick back before it comes to us. So I think we just be mindful of like the timelines and maybe try to put something in writing, the whatever bylaws you try to create if possible. But outside of that, I think a lot of it's just out of our control and it's just subjective to, you know, whatever comes to us in the way that it comes to us.
Would you rather get the packet piecemeal? If Chris gets things done, get them sent piece?
No.
Okay, you want it all at once. Okay, just asking. Okay.
Yeah, we had a piecemeal this time and most of us missed part of it, so. Sorry.
And just also, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but when we revamped the site plan process, we didn't revamp the process, we clarified what needed to be on the plan, what the planning commission's role was, that it had to be recorded. Some places have preliminary site plans. I didn't want to completely change the process, but and that would certainly have to be codified. That, you know, the first time you happen to have this, you saw this one because it was a special exception, but you see a site plan for the first time, you're seeing 152 apartment units, you're seeing a full-blown engineering plan. A lot of communities have, you know, developments that over a certain threshold have to be submitted as a preliminary plan first. And then you get one or two sheets and it benefits the approving agency and it benefits the applicant, and they're not spending a lot of money on full-blown engineering before they're getting feedback from the planning commission. And that's kind of worked itself out organically because they've needed special exceptions for the last 2 or 3 big developments we've had. So you saw a concept plan in your function in making a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. If they didn't need that special exception, we would have been hit with what you don't see it, but there's 30 sheets to that plan.
Yeah. So
I'm not suggesting that we create a preliminary site plan process. But I think we did write we did codify, I can't remember what we did 2 years ago, that if the plan is large enough that it requires plus review, that they shall submit a concept plan to you first. So I know I'm talking different apples and oranges, but I take back some of what I just said because
I think I recall that because I think we didn't want to affect smaller projects.
yeah,
So I think I recall that because things that would require plus would definitely be larger and more in depth.
and
I do recall
it's a
that.
shell, and ones that are less than that may submit a concept plan. And I wouldn't want to turn that down if a 10-lot subdivision plan or a 20-unit apartment complex wants to sort of
Feel the water.
feel the waters. And I know it's, you have to approve it if it meets the requirements, but some developers like to do that. But having a submission deadline would be very helpful. We could probably do it at the staff level because they're always saying, when you need it by, look, misjudging my calendars and misjudging my time management and thinking that I get things done quicker than I could. So we just say, a month or 3 weeks.
Okay, well, I've got that in the initial draft, so, I probably need to make it more 30 days, I think around 2 weeks. But,
Anything in there about having the information to us a week before,
I can get that in there.
That would be
that was part of
more,
what I suggested.
that would be more for staff. If you,
But as you to put it in our
procedures.
procedures,
One thing, when Margot sends this out, please do not reply all. Reply just to Margot.
Thanks, Mara.
Don't want to get in trouble for any
Violations of FOIA.
yeah.
so, we did right, here's this, so it was, March 2022, we amended the ordinance regarding site plans. We added incomplete site plans shall be returned to the applicant at the discretion of the building official.
And that's you.
Well, it's Jeff, but,
Yeah.
it's mostly me, more or less me. You can't say. It's all- So the purpose of this, site plan shall include the information contained in attachment 2. The planning commission may waive any information required if it deems information is unnecessary. I don't really understand how that would work. I wrote that, but. So, we have codified a way to weed out plans already. These last set of plans have been complicated because it's easements and city council actions before you have to, make a decision.
Well, this will be on the agenda next meeting, right? Okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you again for doing this.
And I keep sending myself a note, do you mind, about state housing.
Oh, no, yeah, the other thing I wanna do that's maybe a little bit more priority is to get the training from Max to make sure we don't say anything or require anything that's gonna violate somebody's constitutional rights. Cause we don't need to be in a lawsuit.
Didn't he cover that in the class that we took?
No, it's a brand new,
Okay.
it is a brand new class that he developed.
And
And
it was
in,
before he said.
Yeah.
last
yeah,
year.
in March, he presented it to Newark. And we wanna get the commissioners, city council to
That's
also
right.
take.
All together.
So just need to follow up on that. And according to the city website, our next meeting is May 20th, which is the third Monday. So, unfortunately, it's at 7 o'clock. Cause I have another meeting at 5, so. And I'm gonna email Lisa about that to confirm.
It's on my calendar. She sent it out,
The 20th or the
Yeah.
27th?
the 20th.
I thought I accepted all this. No, I don't have it on mine.
The 27th is a national holiday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the paper calendar might have the 27th as the meeting. I saw it 2 different ways in 2 different spots. That's what I would have to say.
Okay.
Okay.
With it being the third one or Monday, I will not be able to be here. With my rotation.
Okay.
Part of the food.
Mhm.
It makes a difference.
Oh, I know, you bring a great perspective. Like, I would have never asked the question of, is the road gonna be heavy enough to support the fire truck? That's pretty important. So, yeah, we're all grateful to be here. Okay, do I have there's nothing else on the agenda? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna run because I got a party at home.
Here.